Watch this.
All right, it's COVID-free Friday here on the 208. That means no COVID talk. But we are trying to figure out why a mountain lion was roaming around an Eagle neighborhood early this morning. And Fridays also sometimes mean we're going to give you some good news. Well, we're going to give it to you after you give it to us. This time from the Western Idaho Fair. Another big event happening this weekend, the Boise Open, which means late nights for fans at the concerts and very early mornings for the grounds crew getting the course ready all over again. And we were right there with them 20 years ago to find out what that takes. In a place of enchantment and in several storybooks, animals are usually the cute creatures that help our kids learn a lesson. Think the Three Little Pigs or Goldilocks and the Three Bears or the pokey little puppy. But that wasn't exactly the case early this morning, where a mountain lion was spotted in an Eagle neighborhood on Enchantment Street, which is just off Storybook Way. We know this because we started getting text messages and videos sent into the KTVB text line from our friends in Eagle, where several eagle-eyed door cams captured video this morning of that big cat out for a walk. Whatever he was looking for, you could probably bet it wasn't what you might be looking for at 2 a.m. Suspend reality for a few minutes, if you will, as Joe Paris went to find insight on why the mountain lion walked in that area.
Before the sun was up, this Eagle neighborhood was the backdrop for a catwalk. A large catwalk. And the cat in question is likely bigger than the feline you have at home. It is a mountain lion. And neighbors in this area tell me they're familiar with animal visits. Just ask Chris Samuelson.
3 nights ago, I had a raccoon visiting my chicken coop. And of course, my chickens were all buttoned up, nice and safe.
This, though, it's a little different than a raccoon.
When I saw the mountain lion, I freaked out and I ran outside and brought the Yorkies back in the house.
Not exactly an enchanting storybook tale. Large cat goes for stroll. But it does beg a question for the cat. What was so paramount for this catamount to explore at 2 a.m.? Using perfectly placed video systems, neighbors were able to piece together the adventure path that the unnamed mountain lion traveled. Wait. This mountain lion definitely needs a name. How about Michael Mountain Lion?
Michael the mountain lion, that's fine.
All right, so Michael it is. Now, this stretch from West Enchantment Street to South Harlan Place has a lot to offer. Michael Mountain Lion might have just been looking for a place to crash after a wild night out. He did visit this front stoop, but no luck. Is it possible Michael was looking for something to entertain him? Just blocks away from Storybook Way, this tiny library is packed with books, including this classic tale told through the lens of optimistic cats. Or maybe he was looking for more of an adult read. But no. It had to be the cats catching his eye. I know, these are not the most logical explanations. Maybe it was this invitation that caught his eye. A gorgeous garden with a vegetarian menu. Although, I think Michael is probably a carnivore. Yeah, neighbors agree.
Well, I thought it was hunting. I told my friends it was looking for a chicken dinner. We have a lot of chickens in this area.
The neighbors I spoke with were well aware of the visit their neighborhood had early Friday, and there were certainly some concerns.
All of my neighbors are on high alert, and so everybody's aware that has kids and dogs, and we're going to make sure that everything's all locked up tight at night.
In this instance, Samuelson says it appears Michael was well behaved, but neighbors are going to stay vigilant about a return.
Nah, no harm, no foul yet. I just hope we don't get to know Michael too well.
All right, it's kind of cute to give him a name and I'll have some fun with it, Joe, and I appreciate that.
Give him a name.
Give him a name.
God-given name.
It is. He was born with it.
Yeah.
But there's some seriousness to this. As you mentioned,
yes,
some of these neighbors are concerned that there's a big cat roaming around their neighborhood right now.
Yes.
Or it could be.
It could be. It likely went home to the foothills.
But likely didn't stick to the streets like your video showed.
You don't know that. So, yeah, a lot of neighbors called the Ada County Sheriff's Office, which contracts with Eagle Police, and they sent out this tweet this afternoon saying that, yes, we have seen this mountain lion, and he probably does not pose a significant danger, but if you see this mountain lion, Michael Mountain Lion, Mary Mountain Lion, any of the mountain lions out there, You can call the non-emergency dispatch of Ada County Sheriff's Office, and they're just curious about its whereabouts. They're keeping an eye on it. The neighbors, they had a good sense of humor about it today, Brian, but I mean, it is a serious situation. You know, there's chickens and dogs and kids out there.
And kids and stuff, but not necessarily at 2 a.m. But the other little creatures like the chickens and dogs, they could be in danger with that.
They could.
All right.
Michael, if you're watching, get home safe.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. Speaking of critters, maybe you're curious or even cautious about Ada County Mosquito Abatement Department flying planes around certain parts of the county, dropping an insecticide to reduce the mosquito population. Not because there's more than usual when it comes to mosquitoes out there, but because we are seeing a large number of those infected with West Nile virus. So a lot of us sent us messages yesterday concerned about a plane flying around and dropping dibrome. This isn't new though. They did the same thing in 2017, 2015, 2013, and 2009, we were told. And it was supposed to happen again last night. But if you're wondering why you didn't see that plane overhead last night, it's because the pilot couldn't get out of Salt Lake City. Adam Schroeder, the director of Ada County Weed, Pest, and Mosquito Abatement, told us the aerial application is postponed to next week sometime. Not sure of yet the day, but they will update their website when they know. Yesterday's discussion, however, prompted a few other questions about other flying insects, like this one from Liz. I'm concerned about how this pesticide will affect bees and other good insects. Well, one of the reasons they spray this after dark is because that's when these specific mosquitoes are active and the bees are not supposed to be. By that time, they've already returned to their hives. And Schroeder tells us the amount they use in this pesticide or insecticide, is formulated to target much smaller insects. So it shouldn't hurt larger ones like dragonflies. However, if you are a beekeeper, you can register with the Mosquito Abatement District, and they will let you know when they will be spraying in your area so you can cover your hives. Schroeder tells us they've done aerial spraying already in Gem and Canyon counties this year without any health or environmental issues. We are feeling good on this Friday, last day of the work week and the start of the Western Idaho Fair. So we went down to the fairgrounds to get your good news. Did you miss us at the fair? Have any good news you want to share with us and the rest of the 208 family? Just tell us about it through text, 208-321-5614. Just make sure to include your name in the hashtag the 208, and we'll try to share it at the end of the show. We've made it to the end of another long and eventful work week, and yeah, it's been a bit of a bleak one, which is why Bill sent us this text message during yesterday's show. I hope you can find enough footage to have a Good News Friday tomorrow. We need it, and we couldn't agree more, Bill. We just had to go out and look for it. And what's so good about this Friday? Well, for a lot of people, it's the start of the Western Idaho Fair, and what better place to get the good vibes going as we go into the weekend.
My good news is my employer gave us Fridays off this month.
Wow, so you like the 4-day week?
I do like the 4-day week. I like it a lot. I'd like a 0-day week would be awesome too, but you know, gotta pay the bills.
I'm starting my first year of college at CWI.
Wow, that's exciting.
Pronto pups. I've missed the Pronto pups the last 2 years. Pronto pup denied. So happy.
But you got one.
I got one.
Pronto pups are great news.
Yes, they are.
We're looking for some good news.
The beer is cold.
That on a Friday
All
afternoon.
the difference. Makes all the difference. I took the day off just to come do this.
Well, I have 9.5 grandchildren. That means that number 10 is going to be born in December. We're really excited.
So that half is halfway there.
Yes.
We get to play on the blue turf tomorrow for football.
That's exciting. You do? That's great news.
Well, the good news is I went to the hospital on the 6th. Had gallbladder problem. They found out it had gangrene. If I'd have waited 5 to 6 days, I'd have died. So I got there in time to take it out. I'm doing good. I'm feeling great and healthy. But 5 to 6 days later, I wouldn't be here.
That's great news.
That's great news for me.
I mean, I got a new job in Oregon, so.
In Oregon?
Yep.
Like where in Oregon? Like far away in Oregon?
Past Burns.
That's gonna be a long drive.
Yep. Working
Last
on
day here.
Yeah, working on a big ranch up there.
Really? Doing what?
Cowboying.
Awesome.
The good news is that we discovered the Idaho State Fair. Our Minnesota State Fair is almost the same time. We will not be there. We were literally crying. Our spirits were broken. Guess what? We found it.
The Western Idaho Fair answered your prayers.
Yeah. Our prayers were answered, right?
So they all won awards. He won an award for his brownies.
Brownies? Wow.
You won an award. She won an award for her beaded bracelet. And Kate won a special youth award for her nature collection.
A couple days ago, a relative who lives in New Mexico sent me some lottery tickets. Well, I scratched the tickets off and I won $8.
$8?
Yep.
And you're gonna blow $8 at the fair?
I already did.
What'd you do?
I went over to the lottery booth, and the fact that I don't have that $8 should tell you how it went. But hey, good news is good news no matter what happens.
Good news is good news. $8 just like that at the Western Idaho Fair, which kicks off today, as we told you, runs through next Sunday, August 29th. Monday, by the way, is KTVB Day and Family Day at the fair. We have a booth set up over by the Animal Barns. Maybe you've seen us there before, so stop by, say hi. Spin the wheel, and maybe you can win some prizes, just not lottery tickets. But all right, how about a double dose of some Feel Good Friday? Earlier this week, the Idaho Falls Bandits, there they are right there, defended their American Legion World Series title in North Carolina, beating Hawaii 6-1. American Legion is summer league for high school baseball players, in case you didn't know. Players on this team in the Bandits represent 5 different high schools in eastern Idaho and also representing some sweet hair, apparently. They won it all in 2019, but 2020, canceled because of COVID. The league resumed this summer. The Bandits made it all the way back to that title game, beating Massachusetts, Iowa, and Michigan, and again, of course, Hawaii, to win the title. You can see that celebration right there on the field. They were welcomed home very early yesterday morning with a pretty big crowd and a police and fire escorts. That's how you come home after a title right there. If you're in the Idaho Falls area or will be next week, the town is also hosting a celebration parade coming up on Tuesday. Wow, they roll it all out for these kids. Big congratulations to them. It's the biggest weekend for golf fans in the Treasure Valley. Albertson's Boise Open is back, and professional golfers hitting the links at the Hillcrest Country Club. But keeping those greens maintained to the standards they're used to, that's a full-time job, something we got a peek into 20 years ago. Last call before we clock out and head out for the weekend. Now's the time to text in your questions and comments about the show. Here's our number one more time, 208-321-5614. And as always, include your name and the hashtag #the208.
How about these conditions for a feel-good Friday? I think a lot of people feeling pretty good about the weather right now. In the low to mid 80s for much of the Treasure Valley, low 70s in our mountain locations. And we saw some pretty beautiful blue skies today as well. Not as much smoke around, but there are still wildfires burning around the area. And so from time to time, we will see conditions get a little bit hazy and the blue skies disappear for a time as patchy smoke moves through. However, air quality in the yellow or moderate category and expected to stay there throughout the weekend and into next week. There are still some mandatory burn restrictions in place. If you want to see more on that, visit ktvb.com. Here's our system that shakes things up for the first half of the weekend. Saturday, unsettled weather. We've got some widely scattered showers moving through, some isolated brief downpours, even some isolated rumbles of thunder expected through the day tomorrow. It's not a complete washout, not a cancel your plans type of day, but just be prepared for any of those spot showers to move through. And you can always download our KTVB app and track whatever's moving through your backyard right there on your mobile device. Highs tomorrow on the cool side of things, almost 15 degrees below seasonal averages. We're looking for highs in the mid to upper 70s and a bit breezy from time to time. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast. 80s ruling over the next 7 days. A lot of sunshine returning to the forecast area by Sunday, sticking around into the first half of the week. And again, patchy smoke from time to time. For a fresh forecast any time of the day, you can find it at ktvb.com.
All right, for 32 years, the Albertsons Boise Open has brought some of the best up-and-coming golfers to Idaho, like the guy who just won Olympic gold in golf. Remember him? Yeah, or how about Bubba Watson, Ricky Fowler, Justin Thomas, Jason Day. It's even brought in some legends like Arnold Palmer and some groundbreakers like Michelle Wie. Remember those years? But before those cleated competitors click around the Hillcrest Country Club, there's a group that's up and at them before the up-and-comers, getting the 6,800-yard layout lined up for play. The unsung and usually unseen in daylight hours, denizens of the grounds crew. Almost 20 years ago, to the day, I got up early to see what it takes to get the par 71 course ready for the pros.
Every day, the Boise Open begins before the sun even breaks through.
It's pretty dark.
It's just after 6 a.m.
I mean, you got to be a little nuts to do this, but...
Kevin Hicks, along with the 25 members of his grounds crew, are already on the course.
Really, my first and only task is to make sure everything gets mowed.
This will be Kevin's fourth season as superintendent at Hillcrest Country Club.
I don't spend as much time with my family this week as I do at the golf course.
And it all seems to run a bit smoother every year.
It's always real tough when it's dark out like this.
This is one of the reasons we're in this business, is just the mornings and the sunrises.
Well, they'll see their share of those this week.
What have we been at it? Almost 2 hours?
Not that they'll have time to notice, because they still have to set the pins.
It disappears.
Paint the holes.
Dirt under your nails, soil under the turf.
And bail out the bunker on number 8.
Fortunately, this doesn't happen too often.
While most of the course preps happen in the weeks prior to the tournament, the fun for Kevin is putting on the finishing touches.
Coin a phrase, these guys are good. They're good players, but I still like to present them with a challenge.
And that's why the rough is rough, the fairways are fast, and the holes are hard to hit.
I think they'll be pleased. I hope, anyway.
All right, Kevin Hicks, he spent a few more years at Hillcrest as the superintendent. That was back in 2001. Then he took his talents to the Coeur d'Alene Resort, where he took care of the course there for 14 years. Back then, the Albertsons Boise Open was part of the Buy.com Tour, which was the Nike Tour before that, and then before that, it was the Hogan Tour. Now the tournament is part of the Korn Ferry Tour, which is, I guess you know, the developmental tour for the PGA when you eventually get there. Those who have either haven't earned their way onto the big tour yet, or it's for those who have kind of slipped back, haven't earned the money to stay there. There's a lot more to the Boise Open, though, than golf. It's a major fundraiser for local charities like the Idaho Food Bank. And this year, it's even more major. Earlier this week, Albertsons and Chevron announced a $2.9 million donation, the largest ever in the tournament's 32-year history. And in those 3+ decades, the Albertsons Boise Open has put more than $30 million into local nonprofits' pockets. All right, we've come to the final segment of the show, the part where we share some of the text messages you sent in during the show. And this was a busy week. We were only able to bring you we were able to bring you several unique stories, and a lot of them took up a little too much time. Sometimes it ate into our time at the end, and a lot of what you sent in didn't quite make it onto the show at the end. So much to the chagrin of all of us. Well, Wednesday, Kurt suggested this. How about a Friday segment with several of the comments not used during the week? One or two aren't enough. He even went so far as to say there's some really good ones. Okay, Kurt, let's try this. Let's go back to Monday when we were talking about what is happening in Afghanistan with the chaotic evacuation of Americans and those who helped America during the 20-year war. And we got this from David, which didn't make it to the end of the show on Monday. Senator Risch conveniently forgets this scenario was instituted by Donald Trump when Risch was chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. If he disagreed with the policy then, why didn't he voice his concerns then? Well, David, if I understand it correctly, it wasn't necessarily the policy of ending the war and removing Americans Senator Risch had a problem with, just how it was handled. Kelly added this: Biden deserves credit for doing what others haven't had the political courage to do. He ripped off the Band-Aid and it hurt. Jim from Boise concurred and also commented, are we forgetting who got us into this war? Are we forgetting who negotiated a historic peace agreement with the Taliban? Now these same people are blaming Biden? Give me a break. From Tuesday, Linda in Boise said this about the increasing COVID cases in Idaho's hospitals and ICUs and how 98% of them are unvaccinated. To all the anti-vaxxers, stand your ground. When you get sick with COVID, and you will, stand your ground. Adhere to your beliefs and stay away from the hospital so that all of us who did get the vaccine can still use the healthcare system before it's maxed out. From Wednesday, another Linda had another question and asked it kind of redundantly. I have a curious question, she says. I've noticed when they are giving people inoculations, the needle has this pink plastic thing on the side. What the heck is that? She even noticed some different colors. Well, Linda's talking about this, which you can see an image of this right here. We've seen this a lot lately. It's a COVID vaccine that's being shot into the arm. That's not it, but this is the pink plastic needle part that she's talking about. It's the safety tip for that needle right there. And then kind of flip it open to expose the needle. That's what you poke in the person. And it's there to protect the person who's giving the shot before they actually give the shot. So that's how that works. And that's why you see it kind of dangling off. And remember those old days where they would take it completely off and then they'd have to put it back in? And it just removes all of that kind of mess where you could poke yourself again. From Wednesday, which was Meriwether Lewis's 247th birthday, I believe, we did a redial on the Lewis and Clark expedition into Idaho and the help they received from the Nez Perce in Hell's Canyon, which prompted Dennis from Twin Falls to send this in. How many Idahoans know about Clark's child he spawned with a Nez Perce maiden? Probably not many. Many know this story, is what Dennis says. I didn't either, but I did look it up. I found out that it is true, yes. And as the story goes, many members of the Corps of Discovery, while they were writing down all the plants and animals and people they found along the way, well, apparently they also had some time for some relations with tribal women. And apparently that applied to William Clark, who, as the story goes, fathered a reddish-haired, blue-eyed boy with a chief's daughter in 1806. That boy was named Halaftuki, or as they like to call him, Daytime Smoke, which sounds like one of the bands playing at Treefort this year. So if you don't know, now you know. Thursday, Jim from Mountain Home had a suggestion. With all the rumors out there, I think it might help to dispel some misinformation that is keeping people from getting vaccinated. 3 things Jim has heard. 1, vaccines make you sterile. 2, people don't want to be injected with the virus. And 3, the vaccine is experimental. Maybe he thinks it might help get people vaccinated. I wish it were that simple, Jim, because we've done this many, many times. But here we go again. No, the COVID vaccine doesn't make you sterile. The mRNA vaccine doesn't contain any virus. It's also not experimental. It's just authorized for emergency use. Joseph wanted to know if we were going to cover the groundbreaking ceremony of the new Mountain Home Aquatic Center. We didn't on the 208, but it was in other newscasts. You can find it online. And finally, from yesterday, after our coverage of the nearly overwhelming situation in our hospitals because of the COVID surge, Kathy said this: the pandemic is showing the best and worst of us. At the beginning, I wore a mask to protect myself. Now, after getting the vaccine, I wear a mask to protect others. Thank you, frontline workers. I hope you know how indispensable you are. You are the best of us. Couldn't have said it better myself, Kathy. Thanks for all your comments. We'll see you next week.